Good Thursday morning, students. Welcome back to geometry class. I know you guys are excited to be here. Welcome to your next to last Thursday at Berean for you seniors. So, sure you guys are excited. Quick announcements. You do not, let me look at my notes here. You do not owe me homework, so nothing to turn in there unless you're behind this week. If you're behind, then please turn your homework in now if you have some makeup work from this week. There will be a test next Tuesday. Unless an emergency comes up, I will be there to give the test. So test next Tuesday. And that's basically it. The year's really winding down. Again, feeling a lot better tonight than last time I made the video. However, still a little bit of a cough, so just kind of put up with that, and hopefully we'll get through this. Now, this test is big for you guys. A couple of you have C minuses. I think one person has a B minus. Maybe someone has a C, something like that. I'm not trying to scare you whatsoever, but you've got to pass the class. Okay, I'm not going to do it for you. This test is big. You had better study. If you don't finish well and it affects your grade to the point of where you're not passing, you'll have to take a test retake on it to pass the class. So that is an option for you, but that's not an option you want. So please finish well. Finish, get this over with, and hopefully, unless you major in math in college, you won't have to see this stuff again. Okay? All right. Here we go. Let's start off with reviewing a little bit from yesterday. So just kind of sit back and watch. Yesterday I was trying to show you guys when to use this button right here on your calculator. Sine to the -1 or cosine. My computer's freezing up. Hold on a second. Cosine to the -1, tangent to the -1, etc. So I want to review that real quick again and go over this. You do understand, hopefully, students, that in this problem here, we are not solving for the angle. We know it's the sine of 33 degrees. So we have our angle. Excuse me. In this problem here, you can see that we have our angle, 42 degrees. So you would solve this, and you would not use sine to the -1. Here you would not use cosine to the -1. But over here, we are missing the angle. So in order to solve this, you would have to type in. Okay, students, I'm not sure where I was. I had to pause the video. Sorry about that. I'm coughing again. Okay, so I'm not sure where I was. What I was trying to say is this. You're solving for x. And x is an angle. It's x degrees. So in this case, you would have to use your tangent to the -1 button. And then parentheses 8 divided by 13, okay? And always make sure you're in the degree mode, all right? So hopefully that'll be a help to you, okay? All right, let's continue on. I just want to remind you, yesterday we talked a little bit about knowing when to use the tangent to the -1 or cosine or sine. And so I wanted to go over that real quick. Grab your notebooks, and this will be the last lesson we cover this year. So we'll get a review tomorrow, review Monday, take a test on Tuesday, and then start reviewing for the final exam. So this is it. So I'm sure you guys are cheering and throwing things in the air, but after you get a hold of yourself, go ahead and grab your notebooks and pencils, and let's take some notes, all right? Okay, please copy this heading in your notes. We are looking at solving triangles, lesson 10.6. And the date is the 9th, okay? Solving triangles. Now, we've done this before, but the ones we did before, well, they were a little easier. I'll put it to you that way. They're going to be a little more difficult today. So there are some steps I want you to write down. These are really, really important. And if you'll follow these steps, they will be really, really helpful to you. So here we go. Steps for solving triangles. Step 1, check to see if you have your special triangles. And what I mean by that is your 45, 45, 90 triangle, or your other special triangle we studied, 30, 60, 90. Okay? So always check to see if you have those special triangles, because if you do, it's going to save you a ton of time. Okay? So step 1, always check and see if you have your special triangles. All right, copy that down. Step 2, solve for the sides first. That's really important. Use the Pythagorean Theorem whenever you can. That will also save you a lot of time. Okay, students? And then step 3, and then I'll pause and let you get caught up if you're a little behind. Step 3, next, or I guess I should say last, it's the last step, so lastly, solve for the smallest angle first. So if you're trying to solve for angles, always find the smallest one first. And I will show you how you know which angle is smaller, okay? And then solve for the other angle, all right? So I'm trying to find my eraser here. I want to cut and paste these steps so we can use them throughout the entire class period whenever we need to. So there we go. And let's continue on. I'll pause about 30 more seconds, so copy this down. If you're done, just sit there and relax. If not, please finish copying these down. Okay, moving on. Here we go. So these are the steps that we're going to use, all right? That's not what I wanted you to see. Let's go ahead and add a new page here. And here we go. Let's drag this up here. Keep your steps in front of you. I'll also keep them on the screen for you. And let's take a look at our first problem, shall we? Here we go. Okay, copy down this triangle here. So right triangle looks like this, like this. A right angle here, 60 degrees here. And let's see, a hypotenuse that has a length of 10. We're going to call this angle X. We're going to call this angle Y, and or this side over here, this side Y, and this side Z. All right? All right, let's go through our steps. Are you ready? I'll wait just a second. Quickly copy this down, please. And let's move on. Okay, step 1. Are you ready? Check to see if you have your special triangles. Well, let's see if we do. The first one I gave you, we did. I did that on purpose to see if you're watching. Look, we have a 60 and a 90, so you know this X has to be a 30 because all the angles add up to 1. And I know you're saying, Mr. Earhart, step 2 said find the sides first. I know that, but we're on step 1 right now. And step 1 said to check to see if you have special triangles. Well, if this is 60 and this is 90, then this has got to be 30. So we do have one of our special triangles. It's our 30, 60, 90 triangle. So X equals 30 degrees. So there we go. Moving along. Now, when we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, let's real quick try to remember if we can, or try to see if we can remember the 3 shortcuts. We know the hypotenuse is twice the shorter leg. We know the longer leg equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. And we know the shorter leg equals the longer leg divided by the square root of 3. Now, let's come over here. That should ring a bell, guys. That's why you had a quiz on this last week. I had you write these down. Now, you go to the bigger angle between the 60 and the 30, which is 60. Go straight across. That's Z. So this is your longer leg. Here's your right angle. Go straight across. This is your hypotenuse. Well, the only other side left, here's your 30. Go straight across. This has to be your shorter leg. So what are we missing? We know the hypotenuse. We don't know the shorter leg or the longer leg. Look right here. The hypotenuse is always twice as big as the shorter leg. Here's the shorter leg. Why? If the hypotenuse is 10, then this side right here has to be 5. So now I can write Y equals 5. Pretty easy. And now we're missing just Z, and Z is the what? Z is the longer leg. How do you find the longer leg? Well, right here. It's the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Well, what is your shorter leg? Wasn't it 5? So the longer leg equals 5 square root of 3. And that's Z. So Z equals 5 square root of 3. There you go. You solved the whole triangle. So you really are loving life when you have one of the special triangles, okay? They're really, really helpful. Now let's move on to some more harder problems. But we have a total of 4. We just did 1. We have 3 left, just to give you a little closure. Okay, keep your steps out, please. And I'll keep them up here on the screen for you. And let's take a look at a triangle that looks like this. Here we go. All right, there we go. There we go. Let's put a right angle here. We'll put 45 degrees here. And let's see what else we have. We have a leg right here of 5. We're going to call this side A. We're going to call this angle B. We're going to call this side C. All right, here we go. Step 1. Check to see if you have a special triangle. Well, I did again to see if you guys are paying attention. We have another special triangle. We have, look at this please, we have 45 degrees and 90, so this has to be 45 right here. Has to be. So we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Now, what do we know about a 45, 45, 90 triangle? Remember the 3 things you were supposed to learn? Hopefully you've remembered those. We had a quiz on them. Here we go. One is, let's see. We know the 2 legs equal each other. We know that. And we know that the hypotenuse equals square root of, let me change that, leg times the square root of 2. And the leg equals the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. If you don't know those, you've got to learn those. That's why you had a quiz on them last week, okay? All right. Well, let's real quick. We already know what angle B equals. We have 45, 90. This has to be 45, so we know that B is 45 degrees because 45 plus 45 plus 90 is 180. That's easy. Now, this is a leg. This is a leg. And this is a hypotenuse. Now, we're going to have to find A. Well, 5 is a leg, A is a leg, and look over here. Your legs are always equal. So if this leg is 5, then A has to be 5. Your legs are always congruent in a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So there. Put a little 5 right here. Right here for B, I'm going to cross that off, 45 degrees. This is all we have left right here is C, and that's the hypotenuse. What do we know about the hypotenuse? It's always the leg times the square root of 2. So my leg is 5, so C, the hypotenuse, equals 5 square root of 2 because the leg is 5. There we go. You solved the triangle. All right, let's try another one here. That is a little more difficult. The next 2, you're not going to have a special triangle, so you're going to have to solve these a little using a longer method. Okay, here is the triangle I'd like you to draw, please. Okay, right angle here. This is going to be 40 degrees up here. And this here will have a length of 7. All right. Well, first of all, step 1, check. Do you have a special triangle? No, we don't. We have 90 and 40. We know of no special triangle that has 90 and 40. On to step 2. Solve for the sides first. Solve for the sides first. Okay? So watch carefully, please. I only have one angle. Do you see that? Well, first of all, can I use Pythagorean's theorem? No. I only have one side. So I'm going to have to use either sine, cosine, or tangent. I'm going to have to use those. Now look, students, I only have one angle. Here it is, right? So go straight across. What do we call this side? Opposite. Here's your right angle. What do we call this side? Hypotenuse. Only other side left is 7. That's your adjacent side. Now, look carefully, please. Sine has opposite and hypotenuse. I don't know the opposite side. I don't know the hypotenuse. You don't want to use sine. You want to use one of these trig identities that has adjacent in it because you know the adjacent side. I'm going to use tangent. I just feel like it. That's what I'm going to do. No certain reason. So tangent of what angle? What angle did I choose? 40 equals what? Opposite over adjacent. So opposite over adjacent, which is 7. There we go. Well, we can solve this. Multiply both sides by 7. Multiply the right side by 7. I get OP. Multiply the left side by 7. and I have 7 times the tangent of 40. So we have 7 times the tangent of 40, or in other words, 7 times 0.8391. Multiply those two numbers together, and you will get 5.9. 5.9 equals your opposite side. So I come right over here. I'm going to put 5.9. Now, students, look, I'm going to erase this here in a second. Okay, I'm going to erase all of this in a second. So if you got to finish copying it down, do so quickly. Or pause the video. Now, notice I know two sides of the right triangle. I know one length and another length. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use Pythagorean's theorem. That's one of the fastest ways to solve for sides in the right triangle. So L squared plus L squared equals H squared. One leg is 7, the other leg is 5.9. Square both of those. So 7 times 7 is 49, plus 5.9 squared is, let's see, what would that be? 5.9 squared would be 34.81. Add those two together and you get 83.81. And now take the square root of both sides. You get 5.9. 5.9 equals H. So now you know your hypotenuse is, and of course that's not exactly right because there's no way a leg and a hypotenuse can be identical, but you do understand we've rounded, so that's why they're coming out to be the same. That's not possible in real life, but we have rounded, and that's fine. Now, it says solve for the sides first. We've done that. Check. Then next, solve for the smallest angle. Step 3. Well, students, there is no smallest angle. Please look. We know this angle. We know this angle. We only have one angle left to find. So it really doesn't matter if it's the smallest, the biggest, or whatever. We just find the last angle. So 40 plus 90. 40 plus 90 is 130. So 180 minus 130 would give you 50. So this angle right here has to be 50 degrees. So there, we solved the triangle using these steps right here. Let's take a look at one more. Then I'm going to give you homework, and we're going to work on the homework together for a while, okay? All right, here we go. Okay, copy this triangle in your notes, please. There we go. Copy this triangle in your notes, and we'll get started. All right, well, step 1's pretty obvious, students. Check to see if you have special triangles. All we know is one angle, and that one angle is 90 degrees, so there's no way that we know for sure that we have a special triangle, so we cannot do anything there. Step 2, solve for the sides first. Solve for the sides first. Use the Pythagorean theorem whenever you can. Well, look, how many sides do I know? I know 2 sides, so please use Pythagorean's theorem. Why not? So here we go. L squared plus L squared equals H squared. Let me stop and say this. Do you not see, students, how I'm just going right through the steps? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Use these over and over and over, okay? All right. All right, here's the Pythagorean's theorem. So one leg is 8. The other leg I do not know, and my hypotenuse is 12. So now I have 96, or excuse me, I'm sorry about that. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 plus L squared equals 144. Okay? Now we subtract 64 from both sides, and let's see, what would that give us? 80, I believe. Subtract 64 from both sides, we get 80. And then take the square root of both sides. So the square root of 80 would be 8.9. 8.9. So there we go. There's your other leg. 8.9. So now if you're doing what I taught you, going right through your steps, step 1 is done. There were no special triangles. Step 2 is done. Then we simply go to step 3. Next, solve for the smallest angle first. Now, Mr. Earhart, how do you know what the smallest angle is? Well, I'm glad you asked. You don't go by what it looks like. You look at your sides and you find the smallest side. Let me say that again. In order to find the smallest angle, you first must find the smallest side. Do you see it? Right there. And you go straight across to that angle right there. We're going to call it A. Go ahead and put an A there. That's the angle you want to find first. Got it? Let me go over that again. Step 3 says, next, solve for the smallest angle. How do I know what the smallest angle is? You find the smallest side in a triangle. There it is. And then you go straight across. And that angle there, not this one, that's on that side, not this one, straight across. That is the smallest angle in the triangle, and that's the one you want to solve for first. We're going to call this A. Okay? Is everybody with me on that? Now, the only way to find this angle, students, is to use our trig ratios. That's the only way to do it. That's what we're going to have to do. So if we're going to solve for angle A, then that's our angle we're going to use. Go straight across. This is called your what side? Opposite. This is your right angle, so we're going to call this our hypotenuse. And the only other side left is 8.9. We're going to call that adjacent. Now, students, I don't care if you use sine, cosine, or tangent. You choose. Okay? It doesn't matter. I'm going to use sine because I feel like it. You could use any of those and you would be fine. So sine of angle A, isn't that what we're using? Angle A? Sine of angle A equals what? Opposite over hypotenuse, right? That's the only way you can find an angle in this problem. So sine of A equals what? Well, opposite is 8 and hypotenuse is 12. Hey, we did this yesterday, remember? We're missing an angle, right? We know both numbers over here. We're missing an angle. So remember what you type into your calculator? You type in the sine -1 of 8 divided by 12. So go ahead and type that in. However your calculator does it. And you'll get 41.8. I'm going to put 42 degrees. So 42 degrees. So come over here and write that in, 42 degrees. And then step 3 says, then solve for the other angle. Well, we don't need to use our trig ratios for this angle. You could, but why would you do that? You know this angle is 90. You know this angle is 42. So add them together, and you get 132. And then subtract that from 180, because all 3 angles in a triangle have to add up to 180. So you're left with 48 degrees. So this angle here is 48 degrees. That's it, okay? Now I want you to practice, practice, practice. This homework assignment here, whoever's in the room, I'm not sure if Mr. Harmon's back from being out of town or whatever, but whoever the teacher is, load up another video, guys. Bag, Berean Academy Geometry, and then 10-6, part 3, there is a space there, so part, then space, part 3, space, and then homework. Pull that up and start working on your homework. I'm not giving you that many. 6 problems to work on, okay? Practice, 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 and then a review sheet for 2 days, Friday and, I almost said Friday and Saturday, Friday and Monday, okay? Have a good rest of the day. I hope you're getting this. The key is this right here. Here's the key. The key are these 3 steps right here. Use them, use them, use them over and over, okay? Have a good Thursday. We'll see you or talk to you on Friday.